G'day guys, how you going? Today we're back with a video, and this is a video I really want to showcase to you guys. I want to show you the Pz.IIJ, which in my opinion is the worst tank in World of Tanks. Now, anybody who has basic knowledge of World of Tanks knows that this tank is incredibly overpowered. It has, I think, better armor than the KV-1 at tier 5. Now I do own this tank. It is a shame of mine. I bought it at the time when I wanted to get 365 days of World of Tanks premium account time, and this was a package. Now it's not an expensive tank on its own, it's only a tier 3 tank, but you can only get it in packages over 100 Australian dollars easily, probably around 120 or so. Now for the first time ever, this game I used fully premium rounds. Before that, I only ever used standard rounds, which have terrible penetration. Even the premium rounds of this tank have pretty bad penetration, but they're not the worst. Now, the reason that I think that this tank is the worst tank in the game is because of how overpowered it is and how devastating that is for any new player to the game, or any player that doesn't really have a great knowledge of the game. You can just see that you bounce after bounce after bounce. You don't have to be worried about going and confronting any tank in this tank. It is just so overpowered. And the amount of damage I did in this game, the amount of damage I've blocked in this game is just abhorrent. And you know, if there's a new player coming into the game, they won't know how to destroy this tank, especially if they don't have good knowledge of different types of rounds, etc. For example, my girlfriend, she wouldn't know how to destroy this tank, and that really kind of like, it makes me angry. And I know I own this tank, so I guess that makes me just as bad as anyone else, but I really don't play this tank often at all. One, because it's so expensive to play, because you have to fire premium rounds, I've found, otherwise you can't go through anything. And two, because it's just so, you know, I feel guilty playing, and that's something that you shouldn't feel playing in one of these tanks. You can just see I'm blocking round after round after round, and sure, some people do have knowledge of this tank, but I mean, when this tank was converted into an HD model, you can see these little hatches on each side of the tank here. When this tank was converted into the HD model, those hatches there were actually removed as weak spots. So not only does this tank have a very solid amount of armor, its weak spots are completely gone. Also on top, this cupola on top was actually made smaller, which is absolutely absurd. Now, going back into the game really quickly from my rant, you can see I've gotten 7 kills so far. And really, I haven't done much. I've just driven around and shot things. That's literally all I've been doing. I haven't been playing skillfully. I haven't been making effective use of camouflage. Sure, I made use of a dead tank, but really, you don't even need to do it in this tank. I've already done 1,000 damage. And remember, guys, this is a tier 3 tank. Tier 3 light tank, and I've done 1,000 damage over, blocked 700 damage. It's not fair. The other team would have won hands down had I not been playing this tank, or if there had been no skillful players on my team. But you can see it is just ridiculous. 8 kills, just like that easy. So that's really why I think that this tank is the worst tank in World of Tanks. It's just not fair. We all know this though, and the fact that Wargaming keeps selling these tanks in these extravagant bundles, making these tanks exclusively for those who can afford it, which really isn't probably the majority of the player base, mixed with the fact that it ruins the game for anyone who just starts or doesn't, you know, is grinding through their first tanks, and it kind of ruins the game for them. I mean, again, when I talk about my girlfriend playing this tank, she won't be able to destroy one of these tanks because A, I don't think she's equipped with the knowledge to do it, and B, even if she does fire premium rounds, even if she does everything right, this tank has more armor than a KV-1 at tier 3. You can imagine that only, you know, some select tier 3 tanks will even be able to go through this. For example, the similarly overpowered FCM 40 Pack 36. I can't remember the exact name. But yeah, I mean, it's such a shame that this tank is even in the game, and I know it's not something that wargaming can nerf now, or it would be very difficult because of, I think, EU laws, especially preventing any sort of sale to be, you know, changed after it has been sold. But at least stop selling this tank. I mean, at least reduce people's ability to purchase this tank as a means to, you know, bully other players in the game, because that's really what it is. It's not a fair tank. It's like playing a tier 10 tank in a tier 6 game. It doesn't make sense, and that's really what this tank is. It's not, I mean, it's shit in its own way that you can only play it with premium rounds, so it's like a moneymaker all round for wargaming, because if you don't fire premium rounds, then you're doing it wrong in this tank, and then for other players, it just destroys them. So let's just have a quick look at the post-game stats. You can see I already got 9 kills, and I don't think that this post-game stats is a true reflection of how well I played, because I didn't play well. I just drove. I drove forward in this tank. I fired premium rounds, was able to destroy pretty much everything in sight, and no one was really able to destroy me. Sure, some people got penetrating hits, but even so, they struggled so much. But let's just have a look at the stats. So, Mastery Badge, not surprising. This was a pretty huge game. I got Bruiser, Duelist, Fire for Effect, Shellproof, of course. Like, you're pretty much always guaranteed to get Shellproof in this tank. Pz.IIJ's medal for destroying 2 enemy SPGs in this tank. If this tank was any higher in tier, I would have also gotten a Radley Walters medal for destroying 8 or 9 tanks in a game. Cool-headed, you always get this in this tank. Survive at least 10 ricochets and non-penetrations. High caliber and Top Gun. Not surprising there at all. But you can see we blocked, you know, 1 round from the Type 97, 9 rounds from the M3, 3 rounds from... I mean, these tanks, they weren't able to penetrate this tank, and you can see that's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's more than the top... I think if you add the top 5, it's similar amount on the enemy team to what I got in my tier 3 light tank. It just doesn't make sense. So what I want you guys to take away from this is that I feel like if wargaming anyway is watching this, then, I mean, please don't sell this tank anymore. I know that this tank is such a money maker for you guys, because you know, you only sell it in bundles over 100 Australian dollars, which is like, you know, similar to, I think, pretty much over 100 euros or 100 US dollars. It is not a fair tank, and it ruins the game for people who don't really understand World of Tanks, which is the majority of low tier players. Let's be real, if you're getting into this game, then you are not going to know the different types of premium rounds or what premium rounds really do. This is something that I've noticed from player to player. If they're just starting out World of Tanks, it's hard to grasp, especially also where to shoot on a tank, the weak spots, etc. This is not a fair tank, and I really don't think that you should be selling it anymore in the game. I know it's difficult to, you know, nerf it. I get that, but maybe don't sell it anymore, because what kind of game, you know, like, why have something in the game that's completely overpowered? I really don't know any other games that have these kind of completely overpowered, like blatantly in your face overpowered tanks, which are repetitive, or anything which is repetitively sold, even though everyone knows that this tank is overpowered and really shouldn't be in the game in the first place, let alone knowing that it's so overpowered is being resold. And I know I am guilty of buying this tank, but if I can even spread the message that, you know, this tank is shit. And also, guys, if you are thinking about getting this tank, I strongly recommend you don't. It is not a good tank. You have to fire premium rounds, or you're not going to go through anything, and then it becomes non-fun. It just becomes this piece of steel which no one can penetrate, and you can't penetrate anything else. It's pretty much pointless. So I want to do a review of this tank going into the future for sure. It is just not a it's just not a tank that I would love to never see this tank in battle again. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But anyway, enough of a rant, guys. I'm just kind of repeating myself here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did like the video, please consider it giving a like or subscribing. That would be amazing. I'd love to see the subscriber number going up, as anyone would. Also, I have a fitness channel as well. If you guys want to look down in the description below, that's just where I kind of post different elements of fitness, and hopefully inspire some of you guys to go out and maybe do some fitness related work yourselves. So thanks guys so very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.